Teaching at Sugar Grove Academy is awesome. Awesome and awesome.
And so, like, that feeling of showing up every morning to, or I'm on morning duty right now, so like the feeling of walking a line full of kids to get their breakfast and then go to class, and how excited they are to run and say, Miss Snow, Miss Snow, like, that's the best thing in the world.
I was able to step inside the classroom and teach in front of our students for the first time here at the Institute. Um, a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts going through my mind. Because the students were very respectful. They were awesome. They were very engaged and ready to learn. But I personally was not fully prepared. I was not the best teacher that they deserved.
My first day of teaching was absolutely awful. I had this idyllic vision in my head of what the students' behavior was going to be like, what my behavior was going to be like, how I was going to execute my lesson, and what the end result was going to be. And it was nothing like that. So as soon as the students came in, they had absolute control of the classroom, and they knew that they had control and that I didn't have control. And by me not being that no-nonsense nurturer that I needed to be on that first day, I wasn't able to make it through my lesson. And that was the worst part for me, because I knew that they didn't learn what they needed to learn. They were not set up for success the way that they needed to be set up for success. And I came back to Rice and I broke down. I cried. I felt terrible. Like, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do this. Can I do this for the next 2 years, the next 5 years? Like, can I even teach? Do I even have the ability to be a teacher?
This first week of teaching has been rough, man. And not because of the kids. The kids are great. The kids are super fun and they're like really engaged in class. And then you read their exit ticket and it's another world. It's a world where these kids get tested in writing every 3 years and thus are only trained in writing every 3 years. It's just one of those moments where you look back and you're just amazed at the opportunities you had. I mean, God knows I grew up Hispanic and an immigrant, and I had to learn to speak English too, and I had times where I struggled with school, but it was never this bad. I was never at a point where I was 12 years old and reading at a third grade level.
But I had a day where we had a really hard lesson, a really hard word problem lesson in math, and most of my kids are English language learners, and they're doing fabulously, and they're working very hard, and they're very motivated. But it was a hard lesson for us, and there's a point where I looked around and I said, "Can you give me a zero to five? Five being I understand what I'm supposed to do right now, and a zero being I don't have a clue." And I said, "Just be honest, because a lot of us are confused." And every single kid in the class put up this, and like, that moment was probably one of the hardest moments I've ever had, and I was torn up. I was so upset that night because it wasn't their fault that they didn't know like what they were supposed to be doing or weren't understanding the question. Like, I hadn't taught it to them well. Like, I hadn't prepared them for that. I hadn't laid out the expectations.
I think to myself, I'm 22 years old. I've just finished college, but at the same time, I'm the leader whose job it is to make sure that this doesn't get in the way of academic achievement in the path to college. That's me. That's on me, and that's a terrifying responsibility. And it's been weighing on my mind a lot. I've been thinking like what it is that I can do. And I don't have a perfect answer just yet, if I ever will come to one. But all I can think of is literature, right? I have them for an hour a day, and in that hour, I can make them absorbed, immersed, engaged in the story world, in texts.
You can never be the same teacher every single time. You need to do something different, and I can see that because every student is different. You need to know every student. If you don't know them, then how are you going to teach them? And this kind of goes all together with the identity finding that we've been trying to do, that we did during induction, and what we do all the time now. And it all plays part of that. And I use all those skills from that, and I use it with my students.
That one day started this week, and that I was able to take that first step means a lot. So I'm just looking forward to hearing more feedbacks, to construct myself and see my areas of growth and my strength that I can build on top of, to really continuously grow, and knowing that this isn't just a 1 year or 2 year commitment, knowing that this is a lifelong commitment. So I want to continuously develop myself to become a highly effective educator for all the students that I will be seeing in the future.
Luckily, I did have a strong support system. I had the 8th grade social studies team from Fondren, and then also my CMA, Christine, who was wonderful. She helped me run through drills on MVP directions, positive narration, and just really being confident in the classroom and giving out those consequences and not being afraid to do so. So unfortunately, Tropical Storm Bill got in the way, but when we did return to the classroom on Wednesday, I really went in with a new attitude and a new outlook on how I was going to manage the classroom and manage the behavior. And so I just went in, I reasserted myself, and it was amazing, honestly. Like, the kids, they were so much better, and they were having fun, and they were listening to the lesson, and they weren't trying to interrupt me, and they were just happy that I was there, and I was happy that they were there, and it just gave me a whole new outlook on teaching.
And I'm like jumping up and down with more joy than I used to have at football games, because one of my kids who like maybe struggled a little bit yesterday got 100% on his exit ticket, and that's actually the most exciting thing that's happened to me today.